Hey everyone, it's Naomi Wolf with the Geneva Bible readings, and we're at Numbers 36. Greetings, great to see you again. So much is happening, but we have a sponsor that I would like to thank who is helping us produce and distribute, get this out to the world. And they're wonderful sponsors. So I'm going to start by thanking the sponsor and telling you about the sponsor, and then telling you about an amazing tool called Legisector. And then we'll get to Numbers 36 in the Geneva Bible reading. So new research has found that microplastics, the same material from bottles and packaging, are lodged in the arteries of over half the people that were studied. And those with microplastics were 4.5 times more likely to suffer a heart attack or stroke. Microplastics are in our food, our water, even in our phone and steering wheels. RFK Jr. Says he's cracking down, but the 1.1 trillion plastics industry isn't going quietly. So it's up to us to protect ourselves from this. We can start with a few simple things. There's a natural drink that can lower blood pressure by 12 points, an ancient stress-lowering intervention, and even a Chinese dragon tea that can help even the least healthy among us. I'm not going to share the details here, but there is a free report that gives you all the details. So scan the QR code that's going to be in the bottom of this video, or go to myprimal.life/outspoken blood and see the way that thousands of people are getting rid of medication with all their side effects and managing their blood pressure, getting it under control naturally. So please don't wait. Your heart will thank you. I also want to tell you about Legisector, and that's our tool. I helped to build it with our team. Do you ever feel like laws are getting passed and you only hear about them after they affect you? That's exactly why Legisector.com exists, solving that problem. Legisector gives you direct access to the legislation that's shaping your life. Local, state, and federal are all in one place. There's no spin, no gatekeepers, just the bills, the details of the bills, and tools to actually understand what is happening with them. You can track bills in real time, see who's backing them or sponsoring them, and break down what they really mean, simple explanations, and you don't need a law degree. And here's the powerful part. You're not just reading. You can share legislation, raise awareness, and help drive real action. This is about turning information into influence. If you care about freedom, transparency, wise investment for that matter, and actually knowing what your government is doing, this is a tool, no matter what you're doing professionally or personally, that every citizen should be using. So go to legisector.com right now and start tracking the laws that impact your life. That's legisector.com. All right. Thank you so much to our sponsor, My Primal Life, and wonderful that you'll be checking out Legisector. Now let's get to this reading. And just before we jump in, lastly, today's just a shocking day. Like, I'll just say I'm shocked. I keep thinking I can't be more shocked, but I actually cannot be more shocked. Those of you who follow my Substack, Outspoken, know that my last podcast and the last essay, which was a transcript of that podcast on Outspoken and on Daily Cloud, is about how my husband, Brian O'Shea, a great investigator, located an 8-page CV, which is curriculum vitae, resume, from someone named Dr. Eric Donaldson. Now, it shows that Dr. Donaldson was the right-hand man of Dr. Ralph Barrick of the University of North Carolina, and funded by Dr. Fauci for 13 years from beginning to end. And what they were doing was gain-of-function research, it looks like a weaponization of viruses to make them more deadly to humans. And they weren't doing it in Wuhan in this resume. They were doing it right here in the United States. So Dr. Fauci was funding this team Dr. Barrick, Dr. Donaldson, and their colleagues to locate bat feces in various caves and locations in America, in Montana, Maryland, and another region just identified as the northeastern United States, which I'm just going to remind you is our most populated part of the country. New York, Philadelphia, Boston are all located in that region. Millions and millions of people live there. And they brought back this bat feces, identified and replicated the coronaviruses in the bat feces, then examined spike protein, then made the viruses in the bat feces more infectious, tested this on mammals, including elderly mice, to see how sick they got or if they died, modeled a can it cross from the animal population to the human population? Because at that point, it hadn't been bothering humans at all. It was peacefully hanging out in bat caves in Maryland, Montana, and the northeastern United States. So they modeled how it could cross over to human populations. They modeled a pandemic, essentially, and they modeled a vaccine based on RNA. And this was all funded by Dr. Fauci. And I can't stress enough, this wasn't happening far away in crazy, no regulations China. It was happening right here in the United States of America, North Carolina, Maryland, Montana, the northeastern United States. Before this project was done, as I understand, there were 11 different labs around this country. So that was mind-blowing enough, and that was as far as I had gotten when I was on War Room yesterday at 5 o'clock Eastern to tell the world about this. But subsequent to that, this is quite unbelievable, we looked at Dr. Eric Donaldson on LinkedIn, and Dr. Eric Donaldson has been working at the FDA for years, including an overlap of a number of the years in which he was also working with Dr. Barrick at UNC, overseeing this gain of function research. So the government had their own person, its own person, with the team weaponizing bat coronaviruses out of bat feces in the United States of America. The FDA, the government, had its own guy as part of the team that was also funded by Dr. Fauci during those years. In other words, he had two jobs at the same time. Not only that, if that is not crazy enough, they rolled out something that looked very much like this gain of function research result, this weaponized coronavirus from bats, in 2020. Obviously, the story they told initially was that it just was zoonotic. It had been a natural spillover. This is after they knew they had over a decade of studies that they had funded showing that they were weaponizing it so that it would spill over. That was the question they were paying over $3 million to ask. How can this spill over into a human population? How can it be made more deadly? And so Dr. Fauci said, and Dr. Birx in, January, February, March of 2020, it's a natural spillover, humans had nothing to do with it. Scientists who looked at this and said, this looks weaponized, this looks artificial or engineered, were shut down, smeared, called conspiracy theorists. But in fact, Dr. Fauci and his team knew that they had funded the research to weaponize this virus, even as they were saying to these scientists, you're a crazy person. But not only that, and this is the part that I can't even process. You remember as the pandemic was gathering steam and there was messaging about this is the most deadly thing, this is going to kill you, so you have to stand 6 feet apart, you have to wear masks, stay inside. This virus might not have been lethal enough. I mean, the studies that Dr. Fauci was funding were to see if it could be lethal to mice. So obviously it started out not knowing if it could be lethal to mice, or something very like it, I should say. And you remember that they moved people with COVID into old folks' homes. They did that in New York. Andrew Cuomo did that. And then the protocol, kind of out of nowhere, for elderly people with COVID was to give them remdesivir. And then all of a sudden, you had a lot of fatalities, people who died with COVID or of COVID. Only later, with independent researchers, did it become clear that remdesivir, which nurses began to call "run, death is near," which is made by a company called Gilead, is deadly. It causes death, right? Can easily cause death. It's a fatal protocol very often. And who was the guy? And my producer Sean Prober located this document. It's a bombshell, and you can see it pinned on my X right now, even though there's a good deal of shadow banning going on, it looks like. But who's the guy who supported the FDA rubber stamping, getting an emergency use authorization for the use of remdesivir as a protocol with people with COVID, especially elderly people with COVID in hospitals, and thus making sure that it would be the treatment of choice? And if he knew what remdesivir did, also making sure that there would be a lot of deaths to confirm a public health emergency and justify the rollout of the vaccine that they had also been modeling, right? The same people. You won't believe who was doing that, who rubber stamped, who okayed, who supported the emergency use authorization, meaning, rushing it through, suspending normal trials and protocols of remdesivir as a treatment for COVID. Run, death is near. Who okayed it? Can you believe this? Dr. Eric Donaldson. So they funded, developed, tweaked, engineered a damaging coronavirus that had been peacefully leaving people alone in caves in multiple sites in the United States. This is not in China. This is in the United States. They discussed it. They looked at the spike protein. They tried it on elderly mice. They documented how sick the elderly mice got from this, or if they died. They modeled crossing over from humans to animals with this virus. They modeled a vaccine based on RNA for 12 years before 2020, when COVID was announced. Just the same month that COVID was, the lockdowns were, messaged, everyone had to stay home, everyone, was being told this is the most fatal thing in the world. The same guy who had been part of all of those studies and trials, and who also had been placed at the FDA about 4 years into those studies and trials, doing both at the same time, also rubber stamped the protocol that would guarantee that a lot of elderly people with COVID would die, thus justifying headlines saying, "See how many elderly people are dying with COVID." You cannot make this up. Why am I sharing this at the beginning of a reading of the 1560 Geneva Bible? Because this level, like if you read this in the Old Testament, you would think, it's an interesting book, but how can anyone believe it? That's crazy. That could not happen. I mean, it's Shakespearean. It's imponderable that the pieces as they all are put together and the story that they tell. And it's an imponderable story of evil, so majestic, so massive that, again, it's like, the story I often tell about how I became ready to literally believe in God. It happened during lockdowns because I looked at everything that was being done to humanity, and it was so evil that it had to be supernatural evil. And if there's supernatural evil, I had to believe it was directed at supernatural good. And that's when I began to believe more literally in God and Satan, essentially, or the devil, or the negative forces. But this story is so unbelievably evil. It's not just a lab leak in Wuhan that killed millions of people and destroyed economies and changed our culture, and was the pretext for rolling out a deadly vaccine. It was the United States. It was our own government working with this team at UNC, funded by Dr. Fauci. It was our own government. That guy's still at the FDA. That guy's still at the FDA. So I bring you this. I'm not suicidal. I'm sharing this with you. Don't take my word for it. Take a look at the documents. They're pinned again on my X, and also the summary with links and screenshots is on Outspoken, on Substack, and on Daily Cloud. What do you do with this? I have one more thing to tell you about this. You just won't believe it. Like, you literally won't believe it, but it's true. This guy, Eric Donaldson, who I'm dying to see him or interview him, open invitation to Eric Donaldson, Dr. Donaldson, to rebut me or put this in context or tell me I'm wrong. But Dr. Donaldson, his bio, he started out this work very, very young. And he started out like a Midwestern kid, a sports writer, like local universities, not a fancy background. And now he got kind of groomed, it looks like, to be brought along with these horrific satanic gain of function experiments, which became illegal in 2017, and then placed in the FDA as this team's guy in both locations with both roles: scientist developing the weaponized vaccine out of bat feces, and FDA rubber stamper, bureaucrat, okaying it, making sure everything goes through so they could have their pandemic, they could have their deaths, they could have their public health emergency that they had been working toward for 13 years, right? $3.1 million. Well, this guy, who again seems like a Shakespearean figure because he started out so innocent and young, in 2017, he wrote a novel with a co-author. And the subtitle is The Genesis Project. And I think this title is The Seventh Extinction. You can see it on Amazon. The plot of this novel is that a mad scientist who's an environmentalist and who's worried about humans destroying the planet decides to kill off the population of most of the world, leaving only 1 billion people. And he does it by weaponizing a virus. And a virologist from Montana, by the way, Dr. Eric Donaldson is a virologist from Montana, tries with a small band of colleagues to stop him from using this weaponized coronavirus to kill people off and reduce the population by, I guess, 6 billion, 7 billion. He wrote that novel in 2017. You can still order it on Amazon. It's like the cry of a tortured soul. I'm just sharing that. I'm not saying it's proof of anything. I'm just saying it's really, really interesting. As Brian O'Shea pointed out, when he worked in agencies about which I can't know very much, he said that the pressure, like people's desire to confess, is very, very strong, and that people will try to find a way to warn people or to confess or to confide without getting in trouble. And fictionalizing certainly has a long history, behind the Iron Curtain, various closed societies. If you want to tell a truth but not get in trouble, you fictionalize it. There you go. Like, you can't make up where we're at today. So let's just launch right in, because we need God's word. I would say now more than ever, not telling you what to do, but I feel like we are living through an apocalyptic scenario, or a scenario that is so, this story is so unbelievable. It's like Sodom and Gomorrah, right? It's like these stories of massive, the Tower of Babel, right? Massive archetypal evil and archetypal enemies of humanity, working in ways that, and I've said this before too, all this coordination, because many, many, many people would have known about this, right? If you look at the resume and look at the grants and look at the LinkedIn, I mean, we're talking dozens, if not hundreds of people at UNC, at the facilities in Maryland, Montana, the Northeast, right? At the Food and Drug Administration, at NIAID, which is funding these experiments. Dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of people knew about all of this. They might not have been on the absolute inside about how Dr. Fauci and his team would launch this pandemic and brand it and message it, right? And that he would launch, or the FDA would launch remdesivir to, I'm being cynical, guarantee they're going to be, the bodies would stack up to justify dramatic interventions, lockdowns, what massive wealth transfer, and finally the vaccine that they'd also, they also tried to model an RNA vaccine. But it was a, coordination, I'm going to say a conspiracy, because that's literally what it was, of immense proportions, a lot of people keeping a lot of secrets. They probably, have classifications or signed NDAs, and and millions of people died and have been injured as a result of this exact thing, which would never have happened if Dr. Fauci hadn't funded this team, Dr. Eric Donaldson, Dr. Ralph Baric, to go get bat feces from locations, caves, populations in North America, take them to UNC and to other labs, replicate the viruses. They created clones of the viruses. They weaponized the viruses. They checked to see if they could be made infectious to humans. They modeled a pandemic. They modeled an RNA vaccine, and then the same guy rubber stamped remdesivir in 2020, 12 years after they first started working on this. Like, do you guys understand what I'm saying? I hope so. So let's ask for God's help, or I'm going to. You do what you want, but at this point, I'm just like, I can't even believe this. God, we're up against such an abyss of evil. Evil tried so hard to get at us and almost destroyed us and devoured us. It's like this book of Esther, right? Like, it's like Haman, but on a global scale. These evil people tried to cull. I'm sorry, I don't have evidence for that except the aggregate of all of this. It appears that these people were experimenting with how to kill a lot of humans, or experimenting with a virus to see if it could kill a lot of humans. I don't know, the chain of custody of intentionality of, okay, now let's kill a lot of humans. But I think Dr. Eric Donaldson has to be looked at very, very deeply, because what did he know about remdesivir when he authorized it, gave it an emergency use authorization? Did he know how lethal it was? Did he know people would die from being given, as nurses call it, run, death is near? And if he knew, why did he make that a protocol? By the way, the last thing I want to say about Gilead, a lot of these entities have very occult names. I'm just going to say it, again, why I'm believing in God and holding on to the Torah, like with all my heart. There's a solar farm near us called Hecate, which is the name of the queen of hell, right? There's, so many Satan type variants for many of these different, like luciferase, right? That's a real thing. Like Emerald Robinson got kicked out of her job in legacy media for talking about luciferase. It's a real thing. It's a substance that glows, and it's related to the name of Lucifer, Prince of Darkness. There's a weird flash that keeps happening with this video, but I'll just keep going. Lucifer is a fallen angel related to light, and Luca is the Latin lucid, the Latin for light. Sorry, I'm getting a little kind of frightened. Gilead, it appears multiple times in the Old Testament. It's a region, interestingly, it's the same region that we're reading about right now, where the children of Israel are amassed. It's where those 2.5 tribes, Manasseh and the other tribe and a half, are going to stay on the east side of the Jordan, the Transjordan. That was Gilead, and it was famous for a medicinal balm in ancient era. And so various times in the Hebrew Bible, there's a question, is there balm in Gilead? Meaning that medicinal balm, is there healing to be had? And there's a quote that I posted on socials from, I believe, Jeremiah, basically saying, there's no healing for you. Nothing will heal you. Daughters of Egypt, nothing will heal you. There's no, don't go looking to Gilead for healing. There's nothing in Gilead that can heal you. There's no medicine. There's no salve. There's no healing for you. That's what they named. Like how weird and strange would it be if you're a pharmaceutical company to have a name that is famous in sections of the Hebrew Bible for people saying you will not recover. There's no healing for you. Balm in Gilead. Here we go. Jeremiah 46:11. Go up to Gilead and get balm, virgin daughter Egypt, but you try many medicines in vain. There's no healing for you. There's no healing for you. And Jeremiah 8:22. Is there no balm in Gilead? Is there no physician there? Why then is not the health of the daughter of my people recovered? Like literally, would you name your pharmaceutical company that, since those are the most famous quotes about Gilead in the Bible? Anyway, moving right along. Let's read. We're still in what will become Gilad, the region of the Transjordan. The children of Israel have not yet crossed over. They're still getting instructions from Yahweh through Moshe. Moshe is going to die. He's not dead yet. And this is the last chapter of Numbers, you guys. We're finally here. So let me share my screen and you can see, you know what? I cannot share my screen because I'm at on a strange computer, but I will read to you. So you can open it yourself by going to archive.org, the Geneva Bible 1560, and you can read right along with me. And this is chapter 36. And again, the subheadline is An Order for the Marriage of the Daughters of Zelophehad. The inheritance could not be given from one tribe to another. And now we begin. Then the chief fathers of the family of the sons of Gilad, the son of Makiv, the son of Manasseh, of the families of the sons of Yosef, came and spoke before Moshe and before the princes, the chief fathers of the children of Israel, and said, the Lord commanded my Lord to give the land to inherit by lot, meaning like lottery, we've seen this before, to the children of Israel. And my Lord was commanded by the Lord to give the inheritance of Zelophehad, our brother, unto his daughters. If they be married to any of the sons of the other tribes of the children of Israel, then shall their inheritance be taken away from the inheritance of our fathers, and shall be put unto the inheritance of the tribe whereof they shall be. So shall it be taken away from the lot of our inheritance. Also, when the Jubilee of the children of Israel comes, then shall their inheritance be put unto the inheritance of the tribe whereof they shall be. So shall their inheritance be taken away from the inheritance of the tribe of our fathers. Then Moshe commanded the children of Israel according to the word of the Lord, saying, the tribe of the sons of Yosef have said well. This is the thing that the Lord has commanded concerning the daughters of Zelophehad, saying, they shall be wives to whom they think best. Very important sentence. Only to the family of the tribe of their father shall they marry. So shall not the inheritance of the children of Israel remove from tribe to tribe, for every one of the children of Israel shall join himself to the inheritance of the tribe of his fathers. And every daughter that possesses any inheritance of the tribes of the children of Israel shall be wife unto one of the family of the tribe of her father, that the children of Israel may enjoy every man the inheritance of their fathers. Neither shall the inheritance go about from tribe to tribe, but every one of the tribes of the children of Israel shall stick to his own inheritance. As the Lord commanded Moshe, so did the daughters of Zelophehad. For Machla, Tirza, and Hoglah, and Milcah and Noah, the daughters of Zelophehad, were married unto their father's brothers' sons, their cousins. They were wives to certain of the families of the sons of Manasseh, the son of Yosef, So their inheritance remained in the tribe of the family of their father. These are the commandments and laws which the Lord commanded by the hand of Moshe unto the children of Israel in the plain of Moab by Jordan toward Jericho. That is the Geneva Bible, Numbers 36. So what is clear from that, and we've got lots of comments, that's good, is that Yahweh is really thinking about how to keep this land intact, and especially how to keep the tribes, these 10 and a half, really 9.5 tribes, because 2.5 are across the Jordan, wedded to the land, essentially, in each region that is being allotted to them. And of course, if the daughters of the tribes could marry what's called by anthropologists exogenously, outside of the tribes, and if they could take their inheritance with them, you'd have you'd have what's called a perforated state. You wouldn't have a nation anymore that is clear and intact with clear boundaries. You'd have this one's tribe in the middle of this one's territory. So to avoid that, Yahweh has quite innovatively, for the time, said if she goes and marries outside the tribe, her inheritance stays with the tribe that she's leaving. She doesn't bring it with her. But if she marries whomever she wants, which is, quite an important sentence in the history of feminism, because I'm not aware that women were given those choices before now, anywhere. But this says, like, you can marry who you want as long as it's within the tribe, and then your inheritance stays with you. So this is really quite radical. It means that women could choose their own husbands within the tribe and keep their inheritance, or at least bring their inheritance to their husband and to their new family. It didn't stay with their brother or their uncle, right? And they could marry whom they wanted outside of the tribe, but they couldn't bring their inheritance with them. Quite a huge leap forward in terms of women's autonomy in making love matches or matches that they thought best, rather than being treated as chattel. And also a huge step forward in keeping ownership of their own property, essentially, and not being second-class citizens, which they were in Britain until the end of the 19th century, right, in terms of inheritance. If there was a brother, even if the daughter was older, the brother would get the property. It was very painful. Like Jane Austen and other novelists are full of the pain of the daughter's right there, but she has to leave the family home when the son is old enough to inherit and take over the family property. Very, very bitter feelings about all of this until inheritance laws were changed. But already 3,200 years ago, the children of Israel are ahead of 19th century Britain in giving women property rights. So this is, again, I would call it an admin chapter. And it's really interesting that it's the last chapter of Numbers. And it's, we've seen a discussion about these particular 5 women, these daughters of this one guy, earlier, I don't know, 5 or 10 chapters earlier in Numbers, as I recall. And it was spelling out then as well that they had property rights, not complete property rights, but they did have rights to their land. So this is restating it, right? And the other phrase that I remember from that chapter was a version of, you've done well, or they've done well. Like, this is Moshe is saying, good job. This is a good way to sort it out. This is fair. This is just. We're going to go ahead and keep doing it like this. So quite a big chapter for spelling out a rule or a law or a statute that affected a lot of, is going to affect a lot of women, a lot of children, a lot of families going forward, and solidifies the ownership and the inheritance of the children of Israel of the land, which will become the land of Israel. All right. Let's see what what Bamidbar has to say. Do you want me to read the Hebrew? I will just do it. Vayikrevu roshei ha'avot mishpachat bnei Gilad And they neared, you know that verb because it is so important. And they drew near the heads of the fathers of the families of the children of, I can't believe, what are the odds? You guys, I did not even know that this word would be in this chapter. I didn't even know. When I gave my riff about Gilead, I hadn't read this chapter. I will read it to you now. The families of the sons of Gilead. The son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, b'mishpechot b'nei Yosef, from the families of the sons of Joseph, v'yidaber lifnei Moshe, and they v'yidabru lifnei Moshe, and they spoke in front of Moses, v'lifnei hanesiim, Roshei Avot Livnei Israel, and before the princes or chieftains, the fathers of the heads of the fathers, the English translation is the paternal heads of the children of Israel. Vayomru, and they said, Et Adonai tziva Adonai, the Lord commanded, that word tziva, you know it so well, like mitzvah, tziva, commandment, Adonai, God, latet et haaretz benachala, to give the land as an inheritance, begoral livnei Israel, ve'adoni tzuva be'adonai, through Lot to the children of Israel, and our master, my Lord, was commanded, that word again in a passive voice, ba'adonai, by the Lord, latet et nachalat tzlaf chad achinu li vnotav, to give the inheritance of Zelophehad, our brother, to his daughters. Vehayu le'echad mibnei shivtei bnei Israel, and if they marry one of the sons of the tribes of the children of Israel, le'nasim, to marry, v'nigre'a nachaltan minachalat avotenu, their inheritance will be diminished from the inheritance of our father, v'nosaf al nachalat ha-mateh, and it will be added to the inheritance of the tribe, asher tiyena, with whom they will be, and that ending na, that kind of gentle, elegant ending, lahem u migoral nachalatenu yigarea, and thus it will be diminished from the lot of our inheritance. Ve'im yiyeh ha-yovel, and if the jubilee, the yovel, you know about that, we talked about that, every 50 years there's a jubilee in which land goes back to its previous owner, and if there will be ha-yovel, the jubilee, livnei Israel, to the children of Israel, ve'nosfa nachalatan al nachalat hamateh asher tiyena, their inheritance will be added to the inheritance of the tribe into which they marry, literally into which she will be. Lahem u mi nachalat mate avotenu yigara nachalatan, and their inheritance will be diminished from the inheritance of our father's tribe. So they're presenting this as a problem. Vayetzav, you know what that means, guys. What does that mean? It's the imperative of command. And he commanded Moshe, Moses, et bnei Israel, the children of Israel, al pi Adonai, literally on the mouth of God, according to the word of the Lord, is how it's translated. Lomar, that is to say, ken mate bnei Yosef dovrim, the tribe of Joseph's descendants speaks justly. Accurately, things are the tribe of Joseph's descendants speak justly. Ze hadavar asher tziva Adonai livnot tzlaf chad. This is the word that the Lord has commanded to the daughters of tzlaf chad, lemor latov be'enehem, to say, lemor, that is to say, latov be'enehem, to the one that is good in their eyes, tiyena, they will be. It's the feminine, plural. They, lenasim, as women, as wives. It's the same word. Ach lemishpachat mate avihem tiyena lenasim. So this is literally the first time it says they can marry whom they want. Let them marry whomever they please, is how it's translated. Velo tisov nachala livnei Yisrael nimte al mate ki ish benachalat mate avotav yidbeku bnei Israel. Thus the inheritance of the children of Israel will not be transferred from tribe to tribe, for each person from the children of Israel will remain attached to the inheritance of the father's tribe. V'chol bat yoreshet nachala, v'chol bat yoreshet nachala, and every daughter from the tribes of the children of Israel, v'chol bat yoreshet nachala mimatot bnei Israel, from the tribes of the children of Israel, le'achod mimshpechat mate aviha tiyeh leisha למען yirshu bnei Israel ish nachalat avotav. Every daughter of the tribes of the children of Israel who inherits property shall marry a member of her father's tribe, so each one of the children of Israel shall inherit the property of his forefathers. Velo tisov nachala mi mate le mate. And so it won't be transferred. Literally, listovev is to circulate, so this is the root of that. Lo tisov, it won't circulate, it won't be transferred. Nachala, mimate, an inheritance from a tribe to a tribe. Mimate lemate. Cher ki ish, otherwise, or rather, that each man benachlato, in his own inheritance, yidbeku matot bnei Israel, they will stick, literally devek, which is the root of that, is glue. So they will stick with the tribes of the sons of Israel. They'll keep their own inheritance. Ke'asher, as tziva, that word again that commanded Adonai et Moshe, God of Moses, ken asu, and that affirmative. Yes, you must do. Bnot Tzlafchad. So did Tzlafchad's daughters do. Yes, they did it. There's that extra affirmative. They don't need to say ken asu. Yes, they did. But it is validating or affirming this is the right thing to do. V'tiyena, and they were, plural, feminine, Machla, Tirza, Vechagla, Umikla, Umilka, Venoa, Bnot Tzilfechad, Livnei Dodehen Lenasim. Machla, Tirza, Hogla, Milka, and Noah married their cousins. The sons of their uncles they were married to them. Mimishpechot Bnei Menasseh, Ben Yosef, Hayu Lenasim, Vatihi Nachlatan al Mate Mishpachat Avihen. They married into the families of the sons of Manasseh, the son of Joseph, and their inheritance remained with the tribe of their father's family. Ele hamitzvot, these are the commandments. That word mitzvah, you know it very well. Veha mishpatim, and the sentences, ordinances, right? Statutes. Asher tziva, that word again, which commanded God, Adonai, beyad Moshe, in the hand of Moses, el bnei Israel, toward the sons of Israel, the children of Israel, be'arvot Moav al Yarden Yerecho, in the wilderness or the plains of Moab, al Yarden, literally on the Jordan, Jericho, and that means by the Jordan at Jericho. All right, there you have it. Historic chapter, maybe the first time anyone said women can marry whom they want. And now let's quickly look at the Revised Standard Version. And the subhead is Marriage of Female Heirs, and I'll just zip through it. The heads of the fathers' houses of the families of the son of Gilad, the son of Machir, son of Manasseh, of the fathers' houses of the sons of Joseph, came near and spoke before Moses, before the leaders, the heads of the fathers' houses of the people of Israel. They said, quote, the Lord commanded my Lord to give the land for inheritance by law to the people of Israel, and my Lord was commanded by the Lord to give the inheritance of Tzlofechad, our brother, to his daughters. But if they are married to any of the sons of the other tribes of the people of Israel, then their inheritance will be taken from the inheritance of our fathers and added to the inheritance of the tribe to which they belong. It's not quite accurate. It's to which they will be. so it will be taken away from the lot of our inheritance. And when the Jubilee of the people of Israel comes, then their inheritance will be added to the inheritance of the tribe to which they belong, and their inheritance will be taken from the inheritance of the tribe of our fathers. That's a reasonable translation. And Moses commanded the people of Israel according to the word of the Lord, saying, Bepi Adonai. I don't know, it's much more, it's much less interpretive in the Hebrew. Like I always say, the Revised Standard Version overstates the role of the intermediary, and I would say this is it again. It's Bepi Adonai, Beyad Moshe, generally, in the mouth of God, in the hand of Moses, in the Hebrew. So in the Hebrew, it's literally according to the mouth of God, or literally in the mouth of God. But they say, according to the word of the Lord, saying, the tribe of the sons of Joseph is right. This is what the Lord commands concerning the daughters of Tzlophechad. Let them marry whom they think best. That's very good. Only they shall marry within the family of the tribe of their father. The inheritance of the people of Israel shall not be transferred from one tribe to another, for every one of the people of Israel shall cleave to the inheritance of the tribe of his fathers, and every daughter who possesses an inheritance in any tribe of the people of Israel shall be wife to one of the family of the tribe of her father, so that every one of the people of Israel may possess the inheritance of his fathers. So no inheritance shall be transferred from one tribe to another, for each of the tribes of the people of Israel shall cleave to its own inheritance. Well, that is literally mistranslated, that last sentence. In the Hebrew, it's the inheritance will stick to the tribes of the people of Israel. And that's a big difference. Let me double check that I'm right there. Line 9. Let's see what line 9 says. Yeah. Well, not exactly. I'm not exactly right. In Hebrew, it's for each person of the tribes of the children of Israel shall remain attached to his own inheritance. Let's see it in Revised Standard Version. So for each of the tribes of the people of Israel shall cleave to its own inheritance. So the reason I think that cleave is tendentious and wrong is that in Hebrew, each person in the tribe remains stuck to his inheritance. They're stuck together. They're kind of one unit. Whereas in the RSV, cleave means it's an archaism. It's an old-fashioned word that we don't use anymore. It's the root of the word cleaver, right? And it's a weird and interesting word because it means two things that are exactly the opposite. You can cleave, a man can cleave to his wife, as in the old marriage ceremony, and that means cling to, be attached to, hold on to. It can mean what a cleaver does, to divide in half, or to divide, to separate. So exactly opposite, right? And the reason I don't like this translation, it goes along with a lot of kind of anti-Israel or Israel as a nation translations in the Revised Standard Version, is it seems to suggest that these tribes are, holding on to their inheritance, cleaving to them, like grasping at them, when in the Hebrew it's like they're literally stuck together. The daughters of Tzlophechad did as the Lord commanded Moses, and this translation leaves out the ken asu, it leaves out the affirmative. I would translate it, the daughters of Tzlophechad indeed did as the Lord commanded Moses. For Machla, Tirza, Hogla, Milcah, and Noah, the daughters of Tzlophechad were married to sons of their father's brothers. That's correct. They were married into, well, it's not correct. Were married is passive, like someone did it to them. In the Hebrew, it's that they married them. They nasu, they married actively the sons of their father's brothers. And these translators do this twice. They were married into the families of the sons of Manasseh, the son of Joseph, and their inheritance remained in the tribe of the family of their father. In the Hebrew, they married. Twice they married. Active. They chose the people. They're in the sons of the tribes of Manasseh, son of Joseph, and their inheritance remained in the tribe of the family of their fathers. So in the Hebrew, it shows how a self-determining woman with property has the ability to choose a husband that she likes within the tribe of her father and keep the property in the family and have the husband she likes. That's totally written out of the English. It turns the passive voice, turns them into pawns of other people marrying them here and there. Whereas in the Hebrew, the radical thing is that they are actively choosing their husbands and keeping their property. These are the commandments and the ordinances which the Lord commanded by Moses to the people of Israel in the plains of Moab by the Jordan at Jericho. By the Jordan at Jericho. Let me take a look at the last line. In Hebrew, the translation is, these are the commandments and the ordinances that the Lord commanded the children of Israel through Moses in the plains of Moab, mitzvot v'mishpatim asher tziva Adonai biyad Moshe, literally in the hand of Moses, al bnei Israel, on the children of Israel, be'arvot, in the plains of Moab, al Yarden Yericho, on Jordan, Jericho. So they translated by the Jordan at Jericho as well. And the RSV says by the Jordan at Jericho. Okay, fair enough. I mean, that's a reasonable it's a reasonable inference, except that they're at Transjordan. They're on the east side of the Jordan, as I understand it. The plains of Moab are on the east side of Jordan. And so the way I read it is toward Jericho, like they're heading west. Whereas both of these English translations have them at Jericho, which is on the west side of Jordan, already, heading toward Jerusalem. So I think it's ambiguous physically where they are from the Hebrew, but I would definitely say that they are still on the east side of Jordan. So I don't agree with the Chabad translation, but who am I to argue with the Chabad translation? And then let's see what the Rebbe says. No one is isolated is the commentary. Just 2 paragraphs. The laws of inheritance, though an integral part of the Torah, were only given by God after 5 adult, unmarried, and orphaned sisters, the only children of a member of the tribe of Manasseh, claimed that they were entitled to their father's portion of the land of Israel. Their private petition to Moshe led to the revelation of sections of the Torah that subsequently became binding on the Jewish people as a whole. That's really interesting. It explains how the law kind of gets elaborated. An issue comes up, people go to Moshe, Moshe goes to God, God gives a commandment, and then over time this gets elaborated and binding on all the Jewish people. This teaches us that we should never think that our private lives concern only us or our immediate circles of family or friends, and that therefore we are free to conduct ourselves in these matters however we see fit. Just as these women consulted with Moshe regarding what appeared to be a purely personal matter, so should we consult with qualified rabbinic authorities, I would say for non-Jews, people you respect spiritually, regarding even the most seemingly insignificant aspects of life, for even our private actions have wider implications that we may not immediately foresee. Well, the Rebbe doesn't, see this as revolutionary in feminist terms as I do. Maybe that's natural. He was of another generation, another gender, and born in another country and culture. But I think that's true too. There's such a Western idea that your private life, or Western kind of modern idea that your private life is just private and affects no one but you. But we don't know the ripple effect on other people when we behave unethically or without thought in our private lives. It does affect all kinds of people that we don't think of at that time, and it has far-reaching implications. So that's it for me. There's tons of comments. Let's see. This is Roscoe. Never fails, my good friend Roscoe. And he says he's posted and confirmed the title of Dr. Eric Donaldson's book, the 2017 book with Tim Harmon, his co-author, The Seventh Extinction, the Genesis Project. Don't take my word for it. You guys go to Amazon, read that description. It will chill you. Again, he wrote it in 2017, 3 years before what he was describing and fictionalizing actually happened. Let's see. Curious how this lines up with the patents Dr. Martin has traced. We are right there with you, Naomi. Thank you, Rinda Hayden. And a number of people have pointed out, and I appreciate it, that David Martin did work, very much either scooping this, and I don't know because I haven't read his work about this yet, or, in a Venn diagram overlapping with it. And I'm always happy to credit people. And I tried to look at his book, which also is on Amazon, called something like the COVID Dossier. And I gather that he brought the material to Senator Rand Paul. I haven't fact checked all of this for myself. This is my understanding, and that it didn't really go anywhere. So I have, I'm not going to, I think there are a lot of things entering this kind of circle of discussion that need all kinds of verification. But I know that Dr. Martin has shown patents, and I guess I need to take a look at them now. But I just want to, if he did this work much earlier, some or all of it, or aligned or parallel, I certainly want to credit him. And we haven't produced these patents, obviously, but people can find what he did and post them. What's the novel called? All right, it was The Synagogue. Okay, thanks for what you do, Naomi. Please keep it up, says Tony La Giudice. Thank you. How crazy is it, you guys, that I hadn't read this chapter, and I started with a riff about Gilead, the makers of remdesivir, and the chapter, out of all the chapters we've read, I think it's the first time we've seen the word Gilead in the Bible. You guys can do a search and check, but what are the odds? Like, this is the second time something unbelievably coincidental has happened while we've been going through this project. Let's see. Oh, interesting. Roscoe. She's reworking new Tori Amos lyrics to her song Shush. Can we fight the beast? Can I fight this beast, Naomi? Thank you. Thank you, you guys. Yeah, it's scary, right? And Kelly Mercer, also a good friend, I believe, says, hi, Naomi, a really messed up time. And yeah, right? I mean, I really can't recap or do more than state what I said at the the intro to this reading, the first 15 or 20 minutes, when I was talking about having seen, and I really want to give a shout out and credit my incredible producer and CMO Sean Prober, who found the Donaldson documents about remdesivir, the documents at the FDA. And did an amazing job fact checking the transcript that you should read on Substack, my Substack Outspoken, and you need to please sign up and become paid subscribers, because it takes money to do this work, and times are tough for everyone, but it really does. So I really do need your help. But I really want to credit him for being a relentless researcher and finding this material all the way to 2020, if not later, of Dr. Eric Donaldson continuing to, make it easy to get the result of the pandemic, the lockdown, and so on. Netta Slabi. Okay, this, Netta, I'm so sorry, honey, but I'm gonna not post that because it makes a lot of claims that I could get sued for. I don't have evidence of them, so we're not going to post them now until there's evidence. Your last name is spelled incorrectly. It certainly is. I will fix that. Sorry. I'm at an unfamiliar computer. My wonderful producer will fix it. I spelled it incorrectly. Thanks for calling that out, you guys. I'm visiting a relative, visiting family, and not having all the resources that I usually have. And how nice, the Pacific island of Guam is watching. I hope in a friendly way. I hope it's not like, we're watching you. Thank you, Guam. I've always wanted to go to Guam, and that's Iman Javier. Thank you for watching. And lots of nice comments for Dietrich. I don't know that, but I know that one of the grants was DARPA. On Dr. Donaldson's CV, one of the grants was DARPA. And there have been people, pointing this out. Sasha Letapova has been pointing out the military contracts that went into this. And let's see. Yeah, man. Thankful for my hope in Christ. I hear you. I mean, I think any of us who have deep faith right now are very lucky. And I think, I do think Jesus offers a very concrete way to, hang on to hope, whether you see Jesus as I do as a great divine gift, rabbi, not God, facet of God, Linus, or whether you see him as kind of full on Messiah, Redeemer, as many Christians do, if not most. I would say hang on. And if you're, Jewish or Muslim or Hindu or whatever you are, it's definitely time to hang on and read some sacred scripture, and hang on to God any way you can, because this stuff is like, we literally narrowly escaped, or maybe haven't fully escaped, right? Because people are getting sick and dying all the time. A complete extinction event. Look at the title, The Seventh Extinction. The title of this fictionalized book. Oh, how nice. My favorite lesson by Naomi. Thank you. Special blessings. That's so nice, Cynthia Kipple. You've been a wonderful addition to this community. Look up, oh dear, Dr. Sam and Mark Bailey from New Zealand. Oh, I can't take it. The plot thickens. All right. So cool to hear Hebrew read. Thank you. We talk about this a lot, Cynthia, and you've probably been with us when we've talked about it. It does seem eccentric at first, or it did, like when I had this deep prompting to read the Hebrew 2 years ago and read right through to a non-Hebrew speaking audience. My rational brain was like, that's really weird. People are going to think you're really weird. Like, why do you want to do that? That doesn't make any sense. But I just felt this drive, and because I do think there's something really sacred about hearing the Hebrew. And honestly, you tell me, but don't you guys, like when I say tzav or, Vayidaber Moshe, like you guys understand that by now. I'm sure you do. Adonai, I mean, these are words that recur over and over and over. Karov, Nikrav, Kire, Nikrav, like the whole come closer and the relationship of coming closer to sacrifice, korban, right? Like we've talked about it so much, you must have there must be words that when I read them, what they are before I translate. And I do not have a seared conscience. So Roscoe is Madonna, an inversion, this interest, Kim Petras. Oh, wow. So Roscoe, I don't want to go down too many rabbit holes because Roscoe can take us down brilliant rabbit holes. But I think I understand what you're saying here, Roscoe. I was talking about Gilad, taking a sacred thing, balm in Gilead, and naming a company that produces something that's going to kill a lot of people with that name. It's inversion, right? And Madonna, Roscoe's right, my lady, Madonna. It's Italian. It's an Italian name for Mary. An inversion in this instance. Kim Petras, that transsexual, transgender performer in Unholy, the video, which is so satanic. I'm Petros, I'm the rock. I decide my sex, my gender, not God. I'm a little freaked out, you guys, because I keep getting these black flickers when I'm talking, like someone's photographing. What can I do? I'm in God's hands, but I don't like it. It's making me uncomfortable. As performance concludes with theatrical flames of hell, as pops up, brought to you by Pfizer. Did it in that video? I didn't see that. Maybe you're kind of elaborating an imaginary scenario here, but I did see that video. I paid a lot of attention to it because it did seem so satanic. It had a lot of, it actually has an inverted image. Isn't there a kind of upside down crucified man image in that video? So it's like Jesus on the cross, but upside down, a satanic inverted kind of hanging man in a tarot deck sort of image. But I had never thought of Petros, I'm the rock. Peter, one of the disciples, is the rock of the church of Christianity that was built up. Wow. All right. Let's see. So Neta says there was an earthquake in Japan where she is. I'm sorry about that. I hope everything's okay. Oh my gosh. So Roscoe points out that William Barr also, whose father hired Epstein to be a math teacher at Dalton, and Barr's father would then go on to write a science fiction novel. Um, oh no, about a planet ruled by oligarchs who engage in child sex slavery. I don't really want to think about any of this, but you're right. I know that that's true. Um, oh, wow. This is so sweet. Thank you for coming to Maine at the invitation of the wonderful uh, State Senator Heidi Sampson, our friends. She sometimes is part of this community of watchers and talkers and readers. In trying to have a conversation with the useless Governor Janet Mills. Let's hope she never gets another leadership seat again. I'll tell you, that trip to Maine in the depth of the lockdown was one of the scariest trips I've ever taken. And I remember we went into the courthouse, which was shut because of lockdown, or the state house rather, even worse. And I'm a journalist, and I remember knocking on the door of the governor, and it's the people's house. Everyone is allowed to go in. You can't close the people's house. And I knocked on the door, and her chief of staff opened it and said, I'll never forget it, "You don't belong here. You don't belong here," in this vicious voice, and then shut the door. And then I was escorted out. But it had honestly a satanic feeling, that voice and that energy of rage and hate, because it was such a violation of the trust, the sacred contract of representing the people of the state of Maine, to say to a journalist, "You don't belong here in the people's house," shining a light on what's going on here. All right, well, I will address this, Netta. Look up Christopher Sparks. He's in the UK. A post I listened to yesterday was about the G word, Gentile. It was translated incorrectly. I do want to talk about that. It's very important. So I think what Netta is probably talking about is Goy. And I know that there's a lot of very divisive, probably bot and paid troll driven memes online and conversations online, whipping up hatred against Jews by claiming that Goy and Goyim, which is the plural, has negative connotations. It's Jews saying mean things about non-Jews. It's not true. Goyim just means nations. A Goy is a nation. And indeed, as I've said before, when this issue has come up, the children of Israel, as you see, tend to be referred to as the children of Israel, or sometimes Am Yisrael, which means the people or the nation of Israel. They're the same kind of concept, people and nation. And really, at this point in history, as I've said, like, tribes are like big families, right? And there aren't like national borders and checkpoints and, treaties and kind of laws like and maps setting out one nation versus another nation. So people and nation can at this time really be the same kind of concept, right? And people, nation, and inheritance. It's the people who become a nation as they grow, and this is the land that they inherit. That becomes eventually our modern concept of a nation or a nation state. But Goy just means nations. And again, the children of Israel are called Am Yisrael or Bnei Israel, the children of Israel, or the people of Israel. But Goyim just means nations. So when God says you'll bring this law to Goyim, he's just saying you'll bring it to the nations. That got translated in various iterations as Gentiles, but that's a mistranslation. It really is just the nations. I mean, the implication is not the children of Israel, but, so I guess you could tease out of it the modern implication of not Jewish, what became Jewish eventually, therefore Gentiles, but that's not in the original. It's not in the word goyim. Now, Netta may also be talking about the translation from Greek or Latin in the gospel, because they do also talk about Gentiles. And there I would like to look at, maybe one of you can look at the Greek and Latin that gets translated as Gentiles. We can see what it says. Or we can look at the Hebrew Matthew and see how Gentiles is what it was translated from in the Hebrew. All right. But yeah, please don't pay any attention to all the ferment trying to separate Jews and Christians. It's fake. Let's see what else we've got. Great talk. Your insights are amazing. Thank you. Much love. That's really sweet. Yeah, this is really quite a big day, man. Let's see if I can. We are in the middle of it now. That is for sure. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. Your gift of love comes through clearly and beautifully. I'm so glad. Well, there's lots and lots of comments. I'm going to wrap up now. I know, right, Netta? You don't belong here. That was my reaction. And I think we're going to stop there. Oh, but I have something very important to share. Another sponsor. And you guys remember when I said we lost 2 of our sponsors? Well, now we have 2 sponsors, but we really need, if you like this work, I really need you to go check out our sponsors and buy their fantastic products, because that is the business model, guys. That's how we keep our doors open without charging you money for these podcasts, which I do not want to put behind a paywall, because everyone should have access to them. So please do help out, check out our sponsors. When credible doctors start paying attention to repurposed medications, it's really worth asking why. Dr. Harvey Risch, who's a friend of mine, I adore him, a friend of mine and Brian's, former professor of epidemiology at Yale, and now serving on the president's cancer panel, is helping lead that conversation. A new groundbreaking observational study from the wellness company analyzed the off-label use of ivermectin and mebendazole in nearly 200 cancer patients treated by licensed doctors across cancers such as breast, prostate, lung, and colon cancers. And the results are hard to ignore. After 6 months, 84% of patients experienced clinical benefit, including stable disease, tumor regression, no evidence of disease. This is not lab data. This is real-world patient experience. Dr. Risch, chief epidemiologist at the wellness company, called it an exciting signal deserving serious scientific investigation and more accessible, lower-cost cancer care options. God knows. I have some loved ones who are going through cancer treatment right now, and did you know it's the only treatment in which the oncologist gets a cut of the chemotherapy? It's shocking. Perverse incentives. That is why the wellness company makes it easy to access an ivermectin and mebendazole formula using medications that are FDA approved for other indications and are being studied for additional use. That's what a second purpose means. It is doctor prescribed and USA compounded, so no weird overseas supply chain, designed to support these patients exploring these emerging approaches under medical guidance. Ordering is simple and fully digital. Just fill out a quick intake form, a licensed doctor reviews it, and your prescription ships directly to your door. Head to dailyclouthealth.com. Again, that's dailyclouthealth.com, and use code DAILYCLOUT to save up to $60 off plus free shipping. You guys have to do it. Anyone you know going through cancer, God forbid, check this out. The Wellness Company are a wonderful company. They have been our sponsors in the past for a couple of years. I love their products. I recommend them. And of course, the people they have advising them are some of the heroes in the medical freedom movement, some of the bravest voices. And of course, Dr. Harvey Risch is one of the most distinguished voices in epidemiology. A Yale emeritus professor, a great mind, and now advising the president on cancer issues. All right, you guys, that's it for me. I love you to bits. I'll try to start our next chapter tomorrow. We're done with numbers, you guys. We're done with numbers. We've read Genesis, Exodus. I'm not going to embarrass myself by going through all of the ones we've read up until now without having them in front of me, but we're making incredible progress, and I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. I love you to bits. Let's hang tight, because it's a crazy vortex of good versus evil we're in right now. Okay, God bless you all, everyone. Bye-bye.